The First Galactic Empire, once a sprawling dominion over millions of worlds, was teetering on the brink of collapse, a decay that had persisted for centuries. Only one man, Hari Seldon, the last great scientist of the First Empire, truly grasped the extent of this decline. He had perfected psychohistory, a science that reduced human behavior to mathematical equations. While individuals remained unpredictable, Seldon discovered that the reactions of large human populations could be treated statistically, with greater accuracy achieved as the group size increased. His calculations, based on the entire inhabited galaxy, predicted a 30,000-year interregnum of misery before a second empire could rise. However, by adjusting certain conditions, this period of suffering could be reduced to a mere millennium. To ensure this, Seldon established two scientific colonies, known as foundations, at opposite ends of the galaxy. The first foundation, focused on physical science, was established in the public eye. The second foundation, a clandestine society of psycho-historical and mentalic scientists, remained shrouded in secrecy. The Foundation trilogy chronicles the first 4 centuries of this interregnum. The first foundation, often simply called the Foundation, due to the unknown existence of its counterpart, began as a small community in the outer periphery. It faced periodic crises, during which human interactions and societal currents constricted around it, forcing it along a specific path that led to new development, all meticulously planned by the long-dead Hari Seldon. With its superior science, the first foundation absorbed the barbarized planets around it, defeating anarchic warlords and even the remnants of the empire itself. The Seldon plan seemed to be unfolding perfectly, promising a swift establishment of the Second Empire with minimal devastation. But psychohistory was a statistical science, with a small chance of error. A man known as the Mule, unforeseen by Seldon, emerged with unique mental powers, capable of molding emotions and minds, turning enemies into devoted servants. The first foundation fell to him, and the Seldon plan appeared to be in ruins. The mysterious second foundation, caught off guard by the Mule's sudden appearance, slowly began to strategize a counterattack. Their greatest defense was their unknown location. The Mule sought them to complete his conquest, while the loyalists of the first foundation sought their aid, but neither succeeded in finding them. The Mule was eventually stopped by the actions of a woman named Beta Daryl, granting the second foundation enough time to organize a permanent countermeasure. They then quietly set about reinstating the Seldon plan. However, the second foundation's anonymity was compromised, as the first foundation became aware of their existence and resented being overseen by mentalists. The first foundation possessed superior physical force, while the second foundation faced the dual challenge of stopping the first foundation and regaining its secrecy. Under its greatest, first speaker, Prem Palver, the second foundation successfully managed this, allowing the first foundation to believe it had won and subsequently grow in strength, entirely unaware of the second foundation's continued existence. Now, 498 years after its inception, the first foundation was at its zenith, but one man refused to accept appearances. Councilman Golan Trevise stood on the broad steps of Seldon Hall, surveying Terminus, a mild planet with a high water-to-land ratio, made even more comfortable, and less interesting, by weather control. He expressed his disbelief in the Seldon plan, a statement that unsettled his companion, Councilman Mun Lee Kapoor. Trevise openly questioned the smooth progression of the plan, especially after the recent Seldon crisis concerning the capital's location had been resolved precisely as predicted. He found the reverence for Hari Seldon and the grandiosity of Seldon Hall, built without modern conveniences, a sham. Trevise believed the Foundation was not truly its own master and that the Seldon plan, if real to begin with, was now a mere facade. He intended to expose this to the council. Kapoor, though uneasy, initially dismissed Trevise's claims as mere talk, but soon realized Trevise was serious. As they descended the steps, Mayor Harla Brano called the Executive Council to order. Brano, a capable and pragmatic administrator, had successfully maintained Terminus as the capital despite considerable opposition, a decision now validated by Seldon's holographic appearance. She emphasized the importance of unquestioning support for the Seldon plan, warning against any official doubts or criticisms. It was at this moment that Golan Trevise, striding down the aisle, loudly challenged her, accusing her of thought control and limiting free speech. Brano, maintaining an expressionless face, asserted that limitations applied only to government officials, to prevent dangerous expressions of opinion. Trevise, however, escalated his challenge, suggesting that the Seldon plan might not exist at all. Brano, in turn, accused him of treason and had security waiting to arrest him as he left the chamber. She revealed that Kapoor had been her informant. Trevise was then taken to security headquarters, where he was interrogated by Director Leono Codell. Codell, outwardly friendly but firmly in control, sought a recorded admission from Trevise that he doubted the Selden plan. Trevise admitted that he believed the concept of Selden foreseeing everything was naive, but Codell repeatedly turned off the recorder when Trevise tried to elaborate, insisting on direct answers. Trevise sarcastically complied, knowing that the recording would be used to discredit him as insane or treasonous if he later denied the plan. Codell then revealed that Trevise would be exiled, implying he would be sent to a place where he could cause no further trouble. That night, alone in his luxurious but locked room, Trevise bitterly regretted trusting Kapoor, realizing he had used him as a sounding board out of convenience. He also marveled at Branno's audacity in arresting a councilman without protest from the others. When guards arrived at midnight, Lieutenant Evander Sopeler informed him he was not arrested but was being escorted home for his protection. However, once home, he was informed he could not leave, he was under house arrest. To his astonishment, Mayor Branno herself was waiting for him, having broken into his house. Branno, reflecting on her political career, acknowledged the Foundation's golden age of heroes like Salvor Hardin and Hober Mallow, but noted how later victors, like Beta Darrell and her descendants, were no longer considered heroic, overshadowed by the mule. She herself was the strongest ruler since the mule's death, and had won a major political battle that day. She then confronted Trevise, scolding him for his public defiance. Trevise, despite his youth, met her with a disarming smile and a calm demeanor. He admitted he had spoken the truth as he saw it, undeterred by her threats of imprisonment. Branno confessed that she didn't want him imprisoned but wanted him to cease his idiotic pronouncements about the Selden plan. Trevise countered that Selden's holographic appearances were too accurate, especially compared to the mule's time when the plan was severely disrupted. He argued that if the Second Foundation was truly destroyed as history claimed, the plan couldn't have so perfectly returned to its course. He concluded that the Second Foundation still existed, manipulating the First Foundation. Branno revealed that she, too, believed the Second Foundation still existed and was actively fighting them. She explained that Trevise's public pronouncements risked drawing their attention, and that she had used a mental static device to shield her conversation with him. She then ordered Trevise to find the Second Foundation, or at least confirm its existence and location, without drawing direct attention to his true objective. To assist him, she would provide a companion, Jan of Pellerat, an academic obsessed with finding Earth, the legendary planet of human origin. This search for Earth would serve as Trevise's cover. Trevise was dismayed by his forced exile with an eccentric historian who believed in a mythical planet. Pellerat, white-haired and serene, explained that Earth was the original planet where humanity first appeared through evolution. He acknowledged that many planets claimed to be the origin, but argued that the single species of humanity implied a single point of origin. Pellerat believed this lost Earth was a planet called Gaia, a name he had found through his research on ancient myths and legends. He intended to use the Galactic Library on Trantor to find more information. Trevise, however, decided they would not go to Trantor, as he believed the mayor's insistence on it was a ploy. He spent his first 2 days in space meticulously checking his advanced ship, the Far Star, for a hyper-relay that would allow Terminus to track them. He discovered no such device, and realized the ship's computer was incredibly advanced, seemingly understanding his thoughts and executing complex maneuvers with ease. He discovered that the computer held a complete map of the galaxy, allowing them to view it from any angle, and even accelerate time to see its rotation. He also discovered that the computer did not have any data on Earth. Pellerat, during this time, explained his anthropic principle, suggesting that the galactic standard day and year were likely based on Earth's rotation and revolution periods, and that Earth likely had a massive satellite, unlike any other populated planet. However, their initial search for a planet matching these characteristics in galactic records yielded nothing. Pellerat believed this simply meant the records were incomplete, pointing to the unlisted world of Gaia in the Seychelles sector as a potential candidate for Earth. Meanwhile, on Trantor, First Speaker Quindor Shandis of the Second Foundation reflected on their hidden power and the precarious balance of the Selden plan. He mused on the history of Trantor, once the magnificent center of the empire, now a sparsely settled farming world, haunted by the ruins of its past. He acknowledged that the Second Foundation had survived the Great Sack and the Mule by maintaining its secrecy and operating from the salvaged university library complex. Shandis then met with the ambitious young speaker Stor Gendable, who boldly declared the Selden plan meaningless. Gendable argued that the plan's apparent flawlessness after the Mule's disruption implied an unknown force was subtly manipulating it, a force more powerful than the Second Foundation's psychohistory. He suggested this anti-mule organization might be responsible for the lack of deviations in the plan and aimed to control the future Second Empire for its own ends. Gendable believed Golan Trevise was a pawn in this larger game. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by Gendable's late arrival at the table meeting, having been ambushed by a group of Hamish farmers. Gendable accused someone at the table of attempted murder, claiming the farmer's mind had been manipulated. Speaker Delora Delarmy, Gendable's rival, attempted to discredit him, but Gendable used the incident with the farmer, Sura Novi, to prove his point. He revealed that Novi's mind, and that of the attacking farmer, showed subtle, undetectable manipulations beyond the Second Foundation's known abilities. This evidence, coupled with the unexplained disappearance of Earth-related documents from the Galactic Library, convinced the first speaker on the table that an external force was at work. Delarmy, recovering from her defeat, then proposed that Gendable himself be sent to confront this unknown enemy, effectively exiling him while she remained in control. Shandis, however, unexpectedly named Gendable as his successor, recognizing his unique insight and believing him to be the key to the crisis. Gendable accepted, taking Sura Novi with him as a human shield, whose simple mind would detect any mental interference. Trevise and Pellerat, in their journey, reached Seychelles. They were surprised by the ease of their customs inspection, and Trevise, ever suspicious, believed it was orchestrated. They then encountered Mun Lee Kampor, who claimed to have followed them, having been assigned a similar advanced ship by Mayor Brano. Kampor warned Trevise that he was a lightning rod, sent out to draw the Second Foundation's attention so Brano could then attack them. Kampor, however, also revealed his heritage from the Sirius sector and claimed that Earth, his ancestral home, was a radioactive, dead world. He urged them to go to Comparellan for more information. Trevise suspected Kampor was trying to deflect them from Seychelles, and decided to remain there. He believed Kampor's actions were further evidence of the Second Foundation's manipulation. They sought out a local historian, S.Q. Quintezets, who, to Pellerat's delight, was familiar with his published work. Quintezets revealed a local legend that Earth, or Gaia, as they called it, had been inhabited by robots and had fled into hyperspace due to humanity's crimes and stupidities. He also mentioned that the mule was rumored to have been born on Gaia, and that the planet was mysteriously untouchable. Quintezets was reluctant to give them Gaia's coordinates, fearing the Foundation's interference, but Trevise's persistence and implied threat of involving the ambassador convinced him. Trevise and Pellerat set off for Gaia. Pellerat, despite his initial fear, chose to remain with Trevise, expressing faith in his judgment and noting that things seemed to happen around Gaia. As they approached Gaia, the far star was unexpectedly seized by an unknown force. Trevise and Pellerat realized their ship was no longer under their control and was being drawn towards a space station. They concluded they were being tranquilized by the Gaians, explaining their unusual calmness. Pellerat, in a moment of intuition, suggested that Gaia might be a non-human intelligence, a unique species that had not shared humanity's expansionist drive. Meanwhile, Gendable, on his older ship, reached Kampor's vessel near Seychelles. He found Kampor disappointed by his modest appearance and the ship's primitive nature. Gendable, however, asserted his mental superiority, subtly reminding Kampor of his power. Kampor reported that Trevise and Pellerat were approaching Gaia and that a Foundation fleet was also converging on Seychelles, confirming Gendable's suspicions of a wider crisis. Gendable ordered Kampor to remain with his ship while he proceeded to Gaia, intending to take over Kampor's technologically advanced vessel. On the Foundation flagship, Mayor Brano and Codell discussed the escalating situation. Brano revealed that Kampor's mission was to test him and that the Second Foundation had indeed made a move. She had deliberately given Kampor a faulty computer to see if he could still track Trevise, confirming his mentalic abilities and his connection to the Second Foundation. She also confirmed that the Second Foundation was on Trantor. Brano planned to challenge the Second Foundation directly, moving her flagship towards Gaia. She believed the Foundation's technological superiority, including their new mentalic shield, would allow them to overcome the Second Foundation, even if Gaia proved to be a world of mules. As the Foundation flagship approached, Gendable, aware of the pervasive mentalic field around Gaia through Novi's mind, realized the approaching Foundation ship possessed a mentalic shield. He attempted a mental attack, only to find it resisted by the shield, confirming the Foundation's unexpected technological advancement. Brano then communicated with Gendable, demanding his surrender and threatening to destroy his ship. Gendable, in turn, asserted his ability to smash her mind if she resisted, claiming the full force of the Second Foundation was behind him. He then proposed a truce, suggesting they unite against Gaia, which he claimed was a planet of mules, far more dangerous than either foundation. Novi, who had transformed from a simple Hamish farmwoman into the full consciousness of Gaia, interrupted the stalemate. She explained that both Branno and Gendibal had been subtly maneuvered to this point by Gaia, using their own ambitions against them. She revealed that Terminus's mentalic shield was close to perfection, and Trantor was becoming too activist, threatening to disrupt the Selden plan. Gaia, unable to act directly due to its adherence to the 3 laws of robotics, which prevented it from harming life or allowing life to come to harm through inaction, needed Trevise to make a decision. Trevise was told he had to choose between 3 futures for the galaxy: a military empire led by Terminus, a paternalistic empire led by Trantor, or a greater Gaia, a living galaxy where every inhabited planet shared a collective consciousness. Gaia revealed that Trevise possessed a unique gift of knowing the right thing to do, a talent they had subtly encouraged to bring him to this moment. His mind was untouched, allowing him to make a free will decision. Branno and Gendibal each made their pleas, advocating for their respective visions of the Second Empire. Branno emphasized free will and human independence, warning against becoming cogs in a machine. Gendibal stressed guidance and peace, promising an end to bloodshed through the Selden plan. Novi, as Gaia, urged Trevise to choose life, emphasizing that the existing options were flawed. Pellerat, prompted by Trevise, recalled his earlier observation that the galaxy looked like a living thing, leading Trevise to a sudden, intuitive certainty. He placed his hands on the computer terminals, making his decision with intense focus. Ultimately, Branno returned to Terminus, believing she had secured a commercial treaty with Seychelles, unaware of Gaia's manipulation. Gendibal returned to Trantor, convinced he had masterfully controlled the situation and expecting to become first speaker, equally oblivious to Gaia's true role. Novi, as Gaia, remained with Gendibal, serving as his early warning system, her simple mind masking the planetary consciousness. Pellerat chose to remain on Gaia, having fallen in love with Bliss, Gaia itself, and embraced the future, abandoning his pursuit of Earth. Trevise, however, despite choosing Galaxia as a temporary measure to gain time and ensure flexibility, still sought the true knowledge of Earth. He confronted Dom, revealing his suspicion that the removal of Earth references from Trantor's library was not Gaia's doing, hinting at a third, unknown force at play. The story concludes with Trevise preparing to seek out Earth, driven by the unresolved mystery of its hidden history.